So in this video, I'm going to discuss the 4 big mistakes I made that bankrupt my first SaaS, so you don't have to go through anything very similar to me. So number 1, I'll cut straight to the chase, and I just simply took way too long to launch. As a developer, a lot of people, they want to create the perfect product and they don't want it in anybody's hands unless it's the perfect product that solves every single goal. But in reality, you need to launch as fast as possible to get feedback and see if customers will even pay. So as you can see, my first SaaS, I was coding for probably 4 to 5 months. I remember I took a trip to Southeast Asia. I really liked the digital nomad lifestyle and I wanted to create a SaaS, make 1K a month off of it and just travel abroad. But in reality, it took 4 to 5 months to actually code it. I marketed it and we'll get into why that SaaS just completely bankrupt and I had to shut it down. But the highest month it got to was 452 and it was my first dive into the SaaS space. So you need feedback immediately to see if the market will even want the product and pay money for it. There's no point of doing market research on Reddit and other products when a lot of those users are going to be free users. And if you don't ask somebody to pull out their credit card and pay for the product, people that say they want the product might not actually want the product. Only when you get cash on hand does it show that people want the product. So I was spending time modifying the UI, modifying buttons, modifying the text, making sure the entire design, UI design was perfect. But one thing I've noticed, and it's a very developer way of thinking about things, is developers will solve problems in O of N linear time complexity, while entrepreneurs, they'll solve it in maybe exponential time complexity and optimize later, right? If your end goal is to get the desired outcome of what the SaaS provides, you need to get to it as fast as possible. Even if some of your back end or front end isn't optimized, you need to get it in hands of customers that solves the end result. So get your core features up and pre-sell discounted lifetime deals. That's why platforms like AppSumo is super beneficial. And that's how Instantly grew to 9-figure valuation. They sold these lifetime deals, even when the product wasn't necessarily ready, to be honest. And a lot of people bought and they had the funding in order to supercharge their marketing a little bit more. So never neglect the sales and marketing part of your SaaS. Product is very important, but sales and marketing is actually what stops a great product from actually being heard. You could have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you're not going to make any money and you're going to go back to your 9 to 5 or to Amazon or Google or whatever company you're working at. So number 2 is the SaaS product I had was called NestReach. And to give background on it, essentially it's an auto DM tool that if you target a niche like entrepreneurs or agencies, it'll start sending DMs to all of those people. It's mostly used for agency owners to find clients. So it's a very black hat tool and I'm pretty sure it's against Twitter's terms of service. So picture this, right? And as I shared with the revenue chart from earlier, it got to 452, which essentially we launched in January, mid to end of January. In 1 month, we got to 452 MRR. And this is probably a couple of days, right? We got to 452 MRR a couple of days and all of a sudden it dipped, right? It went straight to 0. And I want you to picture this. So 4 months to actually code the MVP and I marketed a tool using my tool. So I would send DMs, automated DMs from the tool NestReach itself in order to market it. And after that, we got news that Twitter gets bought by Elon Musk, and then the API costs, which previously it was unlimited API requests, but it skyrocketed to 42K per month, right? And after that, I had to shut down the tool. So aside from the cost of API being so high, one thing is it's a very black hat market, right? Even if you were to start a SaaS, the big thing about SaaS is whenever you exit a SaaS company, your multiples are super high and it's based on revenue and growth rate. While if you're having an agency, it's going to be based on EBITDA, which is your profit on a year-to-year basis, while your SaaS is going to be based more so on your revenue. So that's a very big thing that differentiates SaaS from anything else. Also, that SaaS is very scalable. You build it once and you could market it infinitely. You can have 1 million users use it and pay a monthly subscription. So whenever you actually build a SaaS, what is your end goal? Is it short-term cash, which you can obviously create a black hat tool, but if your end goal is to get acquired and there's risk with black hat tools, not a lot of companies are going to buy, or PE firms aren't going to buy a black hat tool because it could be shut down at any moment. So really think about that whenever you're actually coding your SaaS and differentiating what you want your end goal to be. And number 3 is, even though the entire tool is based around money Twitter, right? In the name, money Twitter is supposedly a very rich community. But in reality, money Twitter back then in 2023 or 2022, whenever I launched, was full of brokies trying to get their first client. So they don't have the money, they don't have the marketing skills, they don't have the sales skills. So whenever they actually use the tool, they don't even know what a good cold DM even looks like. And they weren't willing to put up money. So I had a lot of free trial users, but not a lot of people actually converted. So they're not established businesses. I put that twice just to show that you have to go after established businesses that have the cash flow in order to spend money on the result. Right? If it's to save time, or it's to generate more revenue, or it's to replace employees now with AI, it's very crucial to generate that end result for your customer in established business, because they have the money, they just don't know about your SaaS yet. So you really need to market and sell to them. And one thing about the MVP, nowadays with Cursor, with Lovable, and all those different AI tools, you can code a SaaS in probably the same SaaS I built in 4 months. I could probably build it in a weekend of vibe coding, right? Because now you have all the skills to create a product. You just need the sales and marketing side to be very dialed in order to generate considerable cash for your business. And the last thing is, it was in a very saturated market. So it's a very cool tool, but there's not that much room for innovation, right? You can only send a DM a certain way. You can schedule a DM. That was the main thing about the tool. It's built around Twitter's platform. So there's a lot of competitors, and I was completely getting outmarketed by those competitors. I jumped into that market even though there's one big competitor that's already dominating a market. And usually in SaaS, if you have a person dominating a market, you differentiate yourself by creating more features on top of your SaaS. But in this market, creating more features doesn't necessarily mean that you would dominate the market, because there weren't many other features you could create. So whenever you jump into a market, think about, what can I do to differentiate from my competitor? For me, since it was my first time in business, I just copied the exact same features my competitor had. I didn't think outside of the box in order to see what other features can I add. So what do I do now? So this is a shameless plug for my Twitter, Norman Wang Tech, TECH at the end. But right now I tweeted a post about a couple weeks ago, basically selling a annual subscription for a SaaS that wasn't even completely finished, right? I probably coded 80%, 90% of it. It wasn't even in production. I didn't even have a GitHub for it, but the customer paid me $3.6K for annual subscription, right? So that's $300 a month, because I pre-sold them, and they're in a field where it's established business, and it's not a very luxury business, right? It's for local contractors, which is not a very luxurious business, and not a lot of tech companies go after them. While if you create something like Instantly or any money Twitter stuff, chances are the market is going to be already pretty sophisticated and they know all the tools are out there. In terms of local contractors, some of them don't even know how to run a simple Facebook ad, right? Or they don't know how to even create a website. So if you go after those fields, you probably have an edge because you're coming from a tech background. But in those fields, most important part is the sales and marketing. So what do I do now that my first SaaS Bankrupt? So since then, I've started an agency where I learned a lot about sales and marketing. So nowadays, my same funnel that I use for my agency I run, it's very hands-off now. My team runs it, but you pre-sell. If your SaaS isn't created, you run Facebook ads. So it's very consistent revenue. You track all the metrics: cost per lead, cost per book call, cost per showed call, cost per close, and you track your lifetime value of a customer. You want to cover the first month's MR with the cost of the acquisition of the customer. So even if you could, let's say, for example, I make $300 per month off the SaaS client, and my cost per acquisition is $50. That's very ideal, because I could acquire 5 more customers with just one paid customer, right? So you really want to find that sweet spot between pushing ads as fast as possible and also being very profitable along the way. So now what we're going to do, so with the SaaS, I don't even have a Stripe link to pay directly on the SaaS. I'm going to close on call, send the Stripe link over, and then set them up on the back end. So you really need to launch as fast as possible, have your core features. For me, I don't even have billing enabled, right? I'm going to send them a Stripe link and they're going to pay from that link. I'll integrate billing once we're more scalable, but in the meantime, just launch as fast as possible. And I hope that you took something out of this video and you don't run into the same pitfalls I ran into. So in the link down below, my whole goal of this channel is just to document my SaaS growth. Right now I have a B2C app, which is doing pretty well right now, and I want to share more results of that B2C app, but I'll break it down into a video and how exactly I'm going to take that B2C app to 6-7 figures per month. And in the description, I'm going to link a group free Skool community, completely free. I have nothing to sell. My end goal for this channel is just to document my growth with my B2C SaaS and also my B2B SaaS that I launched that sold a 3.6K PIF to. So if you want to join, we'll send some free resources. I'll document everything that I've learned from failing multiple SaaS companies to actually growing a SaaS to 7-figure ARR. But thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.